Some ghosts don't haunt houses. They haunt customs logs and passenger manifests, gliding through borders as if they were merely revolving doors. In a cold valley near Bergen, a hiker follows an oily curl of smoke. There, among blackened rocks, lies a woman. Every label has been burned from her clothes, the air thick with the smell of scorched plastic. A locker key eventually leads to a suitcase filled with wigs, creams, and train stubs that trace a phantom journey across countries. The nameless Isdal Woman moved through hotels and ferries under a dozen shifting identities. Investigators match her coded notes to railway timetables, yet her path dissolves at every checkpoint. Sometimes the only clue left is not in a ticket, but in a line of poetry. On an Australian beach, a stranger is found, neat as a postcard. His shoes are polished, his pockets clean, all labels cut. Tucked inside is a scrap of paper with a single Persian phrase, meaning it is finished. The book it was torn from remains a mystery. When a life becomes a riddle, who has the right to find the answer? But not every traveler breathes. Follow a small limestone figure, pried from a war-torn temple. It is wrapped first in burlap, then in bubble wrap. Its sacred past is erased by a story of family estates, a shell company, and a stamp with ink that is barely dry. It arrives under bright lights to the sound of soft champagne, its price high enough to silence questions. Brokers swap dates and forge provenance until the paperwork simply disappears. Today, biometric gates and overnight shipping can weaken the very idea of a border. But accountability can be even weaker. The same routes that move priceless objects can also move people, stories, and unimaginable harm. Dawn settles over the Algeciras ferry terminal, cold and sharp with salt. A customs officer warms his hands around a paper cup. By the time a request arrives from Oslo, the passenger is an empty seat and a smudged receipt. When borders act like blindfolds, extradition falters, and legal assistance crawls. One lost week can erase an entire investigation. Databases do not speak to one another. A genetic file sealed in one capital is routine in another. A single mistranslated verb turns a clue into noise. So how do you keep a pursuit intact across time zones and languages? Investigators work through international passenger manifests and open-source intelligence, quietly and relentlessly. But the hunt is always colored by culture. In one city, media taboos softens questions. In another, superstition hardens them. Pride seals lips. Families juggle repatriation forms and consular phones that ring in the dead of night, their grief stretched thin by distance. We listen for the stamp that contradicts the passport, and the corridor that opens only after midnight, leading us to the next missing piece.